My name is Diane Groves. I'm 29, and last Thursday I learned two things over a plate of untouched burrata. First, love shouldn't come with a laminate finish. Second, if a man brings office supplies to dinner, you're not on a date. You're in a meeting you didn't consent to. The restaurant was the kind that dimmed the lights enough to make everyone look like a better version of themselves. Brass, velvet, and a piano that knew one Cole Porter song and 50 variations of it. I was early. Bad habit. I like watching entrances. The moment before a person remembers they're being watched. Brandon arrived 7 minutes late wearing his important conversation face. It's a face he practices. Smooth jaw, earnest eyebrows, sincerity like cologne. He kissed my cheek and slid into the booth across from me, posture perfect, like he could balance a glass of Chianti on his spine and not spill a drop. "Thanks for meeting me," he said. "As opposed to," I smiled. He didn't. There was a folder on the table. Cream, weighted, the kind stationery stores try to upsell you on for wedding invitations. I felt my stomach sink and rise at the same time, like a bad elevator. We ordered, because pretending is easier on a full menu. He didn't look at his. He'd practiced this too. After the server left, Brandon nudged the folder toward me. Inside, a laminated sheet, 2 holes clipped, a tasteful header. Requirements for marriage. Areas where Diane needs improvement. The word requirements did a slow walk around my rib cage, tapping on old doors. I read, income. Increase salary by 40% within 12 months to align with our lifestyle goals. Fitness. Join CrossFit specifically. Lose 15 pounds, visible abs. Vehicle. Trade current Corolla for a marriage-appropriate vehicle. BMW, Audi/Mercedes. Wardrobe. Complete overhaul. See attached Pinterest board. Social circle. Phase out friends Maya, Elise, Connor. Negative influences. Hobbies. Reading fiction capped at 2 hours week. Take golf lessons for networking. Family boundaries. Visits to mom reduced to holidays only. Career path. Commit to an MBA by next fall. Options pre-researched. Housing. Purchase in lakeside estates within 24 months. Minimum 3,000 skv. Social media. Remove photos with exes. Update relationship status with joint profile pic. Laminate catches the light in a way paper doesn't. Every bullet glinted. I caught my reflection in the plastic, a woman holding her breath. Brandon folded his hands. "I've thought long and hard about this. These are my non-negotiables. I need to know you're serious about our future. There are 1,000 ways to say you're not enough." He chose the office supply aisle. "This is..." I paused, softened my voice the way you do when defusing a bomb that looks suspiciously like a boyfriend. "Really helpful." His face brightened. "I knew you'd..." I pulled out my phone, opened a note, and typed a single line. I turned it so the candlelight gilded the words. "Find a new boyfriend." The piano stumbled, or maybe that was just me standing. He blinked. "Diane, don't be dramatic." "Brandon, you laminated a performance review of my life. It's a framework." He tapped the list. "I see your potential." "No," I said, and for the first time all week my voice didn't shake. "You see a project." I slid a 20 under my water glass for the wine I wasn't going to finish. The server watched me with the startled sympathy people reserve for car wrecks and marriages. Brandon reached for my wrist, thought better of it, and instead straightened the edges of his list like it mattered. "Be reasonable," he said, his voice lowering, the kind of soft that's actually sharp. "My dad has connections. He can get you the raise. I already spoke to him about..." There it was, Richard Hale, the man who believed problems were just invoices waiting for a signer. I smiled without teeth. Tell Richard to laminate that thought. Outside, the night was just cool enough to sting. I walked 2 blocks before I let myself breathe, another 3 before I laughed. An unexpected, ridiculous sound that lifted like steam. Then I stopped laughing because the thing about laughter is it doesn't pack boxes. At home, I moved like a storm with a checklist. Brandon's things had lived in my space like they were practicing ownership. His cufflinks posed on my dresser. His protein powder colonized an entire cabinet like a chalky little empire. His spare suit draped in my closet, a dark, expensive question mark. Into boxes they went. A clean, quick separation I should have done months ago if I'd listened to the way my shoulders tensed when he said words like optics and deliverables about our weekends. My landlord, Jessica, answered on the second ring. "Hey, Di." Hey, I need the locks changed. Long story short, we're done. I'll be up in 10. She paused. You okay? I'm not laminated, I said. She laughed. Atta girl. By midnight, all of Brandon's belongings were labeled and in the mailroom with a polite note. Pick up by Sunday. I stared at the neat stack and felt an emptiness that wasn't sadness and wasn't relief. It was space, bare, echoing, honest. I didn't fill it with a podcast. I didn't text my group chat. I made tea and sat with the silence until it softened. Then my phone lit up. Brandon, we need to talk. I think you misunderstood the spirit of the list. Brandon, come down. I'm outside. I stood at the peephole and watched him through the fisheye lens. Suit still crisp, jaw set, folder under his arm, like the night had hit rewind and demanded a second take. I didn't open the door. A minute later, unknown number. Diane, this is Richard Hale. I can resolve the income issue and help with the MBA. Your reaction tonight was hasty. Let's discuss like adults. Like adults. The phrase did that slow ribcage walk again. I turned off the phone. In the quiet, the list wrote itself across my ceiling in the light from the street. My mother's laugh at Sunday dinners. Maya's chaotic, necessary friendship. My books stacked by the bed like patient friends. My ugly, perfect Corolla that never pretends to be something it's not. Every item Brandon wanted to shrink was something that kept me whole. Sleep came in small, stubborn pieces. Morning came in one clean slice. Work was a hum I could hide in. Numbers, briefs, a project plan, real deliverables that didn't involve my abs. I almost believed the night before could fold itself into a story I'd tell badly at brunch. At 11:12 a.m., security called my extension. Ms. Groves, there's a gentleman in the lobby asking for you. He has a laptop and something about a presentation. In my peripheral vision, I saw my team gather like sparrows. Someone whispered, "Is that her boyfriend?" Someone else said, "He wore a suit to the lobby. That's sinister." I swallowed the heat climbing my neck. "Please ask him to leave. We're not available." A beat. "He says it's urgent for your professional development." Professional development. I stood. "Tell him my development plan is in the mailroom under Hale, Brandon. Pick up by Sunday." Our office manager snorted. Security chuckled. The call clicked off. I sat back down, put my hands on the keyboard, and found they were steady. At lunch, Mom called. I could hear a smile in her voice the way you can smell coffee through a closed door. "Baby, if you come on Sunday, I'll make the peach cobbler you like." "I'll be there," I said. I imagined Brandon's bullet point shrinking, crumpling, catching fire in the kind of kitchen where love tastes like brown sugar. After work, I took the long way home, past the lake where the wind makes the water talk to itself. A couple posed for engagement photos, her veil a whisper, his hands tentative like he'd just been trusted with soft glass. I wished them a relationship without bullet points. I wished them the right kind of list. Groceries, road trips, books to read aloud on rainy days. Back in my building, the concierge lifted his eyebrows. "Quiet today," he said. "Let's keep it that way." I pressed the elevator button. The doors slid open like a held breath. As they closed, I caught my reflection. Tired, yes, but there, a brightness at the corners of my eyes. Not the shine of tears, but the gleam of someone who chose herself in public. My phone buzzed once more before I set it face down on the counter. A new message from an unknown number, just 5 words that made the hair on my arms rise. "He's done this before, Diane." I stared at it, the elevator hum in my bones gone still. Whoever he was, Brandon, obviously, the word before, cracked open a hallway of doors. Behind one of them, I could already hear the shuffle of PowerPoints and therapists, of fathers with checkbooks, of a person who didn't believe in no unless he'd scripted it. I typed back, "Who is this?" 3 dots, a pause, then, "Lena Park. I dated him last year. You don't know me, but please document everything." The elevator dinged, somewhere far away in the building. In my kitchen, the kettle began to sing. And in my chest, something settled not into fear, but into a clarity as cool as lake water. I set the kettle on the trivet, opened a fresh note, and started my list. Change the locks. Box the past. Keep the receipts. Do not explain your worth to anyone who tries to laminate it. I underlined the last line twice. Then I texted Lena, "Tell me everything." And I braced for whatever before would bring next. By the next morning, my building had the lock change on record and a neat stack of Brandon's labeled boxes in the mailroom. I told myself the worst had already happened. The list, the walkout, the last word. Then noon arrived, wearing a suit and carrying a laptop. The call from security was polite in the way thunder sometimes is, couched in distance, but you still feel it in your bones. Ms. Groves, there's a gentleman in the lobby requesting a conference room. Says he has a presentation for you. A presentation. I stepped to the railing of the mezzanine and looked down into the glassy lobby. And there he was, Brandon. Shirt crisp, smile turned to 11 for the front desk. A trifold poster board leaned against his calf like an eager school project. On the table, his laptop displayed a title slide in a corporate blue template. Diane's Transformation Plan, a roadmap to excellence. Our receptionist caught my eye and mouthed, "Do you want me to call the police or the exorcist?" I took the elevator down with the false calm of a person walking into a dentist appointment she's not convinced is necessary. As the doors opened, Brandon pivoted with a presenter's flourish. "Diane, good, I've slotted us for 30 minutes, Q&A at the end." "Pass," I said. He clicked anyway. Slide 2. Objectives. Bullet points that sounded like a hostile takeover of my personality. Elevate brand image. Maximize partner potential. Reduce negative influences. Align with Hale family standards. The word brand made my molars ache. "Security," I said without looking away from him. Gabe, our head of security and reluctant audience member, had already stepped forward. "Sir, you can't be here without an appointment." Brandon didn't flinch. "This is an intervention. Sometimes leadership means making unpopular moves." "The last unpopular move you made was laminating your ultimatum," I said. This is trespassing." He smiled, patient, paternal, terrifying. "I know you were overwhelmed last night. That's why I brought structure." Gabe's hand hovered near Brandon's elbow. "Time to go." Brandon gathered his props with offended precision. "You're resisting growth," he told me quietly, as if he were diagnosing a treatable condition. "But you'll thank me when you've leveled up." "I like my level," I said. "It has books and carbs." He left under escort. A small crowd exhaled. My teammate whispered, "Does HR have a rubric for PowerPoint-based harassment?" By 2 p.m., my inbox chimed with the subject line, "Business Proposal" from Richard Hale. The email read like a contract and a confession all at once. "Diane, I can resolve the income issue immediately. Join Hale Construction as a junior operations manager at Exos, figures I won't repeat here, with a defined path to the salary increase Brandon reasonably outlined. In exchange, we expect good faith participation in couples counseling and recommitment to the relationship. The rest of the items on Brandon's list are achievable with dedication. Richard." He had CC'd Brandon. I stared at the numbers, big enough to tempt someone who believes that money and love share a bank account. Then I pictured my mother's hands rinsing peach skins, the steam sourcing sweetness from the room, and I hit reply. "Richard, my career is not a bargaining chip for your son's expectations. Please do not contact me again." I hovered, added, "The income issue is your issue, not mine. Sent." At 4, my phone rang. Mom. Her voice held equal parts anger and amusement, like a storm that had the decency to arrive with champagne. "He's here, baby." "Who?" "Brandon, and a therapist. I let them in because I was curious whether the therapist knew you hadn't agreed to anything." My body went cold. "Mom." "It's okay," she said. "I asked the nice woman, Dr. Whitman, if you'd scheduled this. She blinked like a deer in a flashlight and said, 'Brandon assured me this was a crisis that needed immediate family support.' I told her the crisis was that he can't hear the word no unless it's laminated." I could hear muffled voices in the background, Brandon's confident cadence, the therapist's rising caution. "What happened?" I asked. Dr. Whitman realized real quick she'd been misled. She told him this was inappropriate and left. I asked Brandon to do the same. He told me, and I quote, "You enabled Diane's underachievement." It wasn't a new insult, just a new coat of paint on an old wound. My mother raised me on night shifts and stubbornness. Underachievement was paying the mortgage on time and showing up for the people you loved. But to Brandon, achievement had a dress code. "What did you say?" I whispered. Mom inhaled like she was about to bench press a bus. I said, "If loving my daughter makes her unfit for your checklist, consider my enabling a gift from God." Then I pointed to the door. I laughed, shaky, grateful. "Are you okay?" "Peach Cobbler survived the intervention. We're fine." At 6, a new storm formed. The intercom buzzed with building security. "Ms. Groves, there's a U-Haul downstairs. They're trying to remove items not on our list." I ran to the elevator, heartbeat like drumline. In the lobby, 3 guys in neon shirts stood beside Tara, a woman I vaguely recognized from Brandon's Instagram. She held a clipboard and an attitude. "Hi," she chirped. "Brandon sent me to collect his things." "His things are in boxes," I said, pointing to the mailroom, clearly labeled. "Yes," she said, flipping her clipboard. "But he forgot a few items. The television, the espresso machine, and the china set that's basically mine since I use it more when I'm here." "The china set," I repeated, feeling the temperature drop. "My grandmother's china." Tara hesitated, then plowed forward. "Brandon says he's made significant investments into improving this space, so a few items are considered equitable compensation." One of the movers, a man with kind eyes and "Jesus Saves" tattooed on his forearm, looked mortified. "Ma'am, we were told you were stealing his stuff and that you might get violent. But you don't seem violent." "I'm violent about heirlooms," I said, "and about lies." Security folded their arms. "Nothing leaves that isn't in the labeled boxes." Tara tried to argue equity, investments, synergy. She sounded like Brandon's PowerPoint on helium. When it didn't work, she pivoted to pity. "He thought you'd be reasonable." "I was reasonable," I said. "I gave him a deadline and a clear deliverable. Pick up your boxes." The mover with the tattoo cleared his throat. "Honestly, miss, this is above our pay grade. We'll just take what's labeled." He shot me an apologetic look. "Sorry for the misinformation." They left with boxes and humiliation, Tara trailing like a balloon losing air. As the U-Haul pulled away, security exhaled. "We should start a punch card," one guard muttered. 6 more stunts and you get a free latte." I went upstairs and made tea I didn't drink. The apartment hummed with the kind of quiet that follows drama, not peace. My phone lit up with a message from Lena Park, the ex who'd warned me. "He tried to take my heirlooms, too. He told the movers they were joint assets. Keep documenting." I texted back, "Why does he think this works?" Her bubbles appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Because it usually does. His dad is a checkbook with opinions. People fold when money enters the room. He thinks love is a deal, and women are vendors. A bitter laugh crawled out of me. Not this vendor. Before bed, I scanned the day's debris and filed it into a folder on my laptop labeled Receipts, a photo of the poster board in the lobby, a screenshot of Richard's email, Mom's voicemail about the therapy ambush, a copy of the mover's work order with Tara's signature, a time-stamped video from the concierge desk showing the U-Haul arriving and leaving empty of anything but labeled boxes. I sent the file to my personal email and to Mom. Then I sat at the small table by the window where the city makes a bruise-colored horizon and wrote myself another list I never planned to laminate. Hire a lawyer. Tell HR in case Brandon tries another lobby stunt. Buy a cheap doorbell camera even though I live in a building with security. Text Maya. Yes, it's as crazy as it sounds. No, I don't want to egg his car. Yet. Maya responded in seconds. I wasn't going to egg it. I was going to bedazzle "no" on the hood. Then, softer. Proud of you, Di. Boundaries look good on you. I turned off the lamps one by one, letting the shadows settle where they wanted. Somewhere, Brandon was replotting a strategy. I knew his type didn't sleep when they'd been told no. They drafted new policies. And somewhere, Richard was printing a new letterhead to make his next offer look official enough to steamroll a conscience. On my kitchen counter, amid a ring of tea I still hadn't wiped, my phone buzzed with one last notification. Unknown number. A single sentence. If he can't buy you, he'll try to build you in public. The number vanished after I replied. No red receipt, no name. Just that sentence settling into me like a warning and a dare. I stood at the window until the city lights went from glitter to grit. I thought about how some men weaponize structure because chaos terrifies them, and how a woman's no looks like chaos to the kind of man who never learned the difference between love and compliance. I locked the door, clicked on the deadbolt, and slid the chain. And I slept. Not peacefully, but with purpose, because tomorrow I'd stop reacting and start building something of my own. A case, a boundary, a life that didn't bend to a bullet point. Across town, I imagined a cursor blinking on a blank slide, a man typing phase 2. He wasn't going to like phase mine. When people say it can't get worse, they're tempting the universe to prove a point. By Tuesday, the universe was feeling petty. It started with a text from Jason, a coworker I'd barely spoken to outside the office kitchen. "Hey, random question. Are you on Hinge? Because my sister just matched with you, and you're weird as hell." I froze. Weird wasn't Jason's vocabulary. I called him. She swore it was you. Same photos. But you kept talking about synergy and Tuscany villas, and you scheduled a date at your place for Saturday. My stomach dropped like a misfired elevator. Jason, I don't even have Hinge. He laughed nervously. Well, tell that to Diane, 29, CrossFit enthusiast, MBA candidate, future homeowner. She's busy building empires and hates fiction books. A cold dread slithered through me. Brandon. Who else would spin me into his fantasy resume? By the weekend, 3 women had shown up at my door, one after another, confused and overdressed. The first, Janet, in a navy cocktail dress, looked at my sweats, my unwashed hair, and the cozy chaos of my apartment, then at the printout of the fake profile I showed her. Her fury wasn't for me. He catfished me using your face? Not just you. I gestured toward the folders of evidence piling up like sandbags. She shook her head, then laughed, sharp, incredulous. This is insane. You know what? Order Chinese. We'll document everything while we wait. So we did. Over spring rolls and egg-fried rice, Janet helped me screenshot every fake message, every power couple line Brandon had typed as me. When she left, she scribbled her number on a napkin. Call me if you need a witness, or just call me. I tucked the napkin into my evidence folder. It wasn't romance, it was survival. But still, the warmth in her eyes lingered after the door shut. The next morning, Mom called. Sweetheart, did you send me an invoice? My heart stopped. What? She read it aloud, her voice tight with disbelief. Invoice. Relationship coaching and life improvement consulting. 18 months at $200. It's $3,600. Personal styling services equals $1,200. Career counseling and MBA research equal $500. Meal planning and nutrition guidance equal $900. Social circle optimization equals $400. Interior design consultation equal $1,500. Future planning and goal setting equal $643. Total $8,743. Payment due within 30 days. Failure to pay will result in legal action. At the bottom, his neat signature, Brandon Hale, consultant in love and growth. Mom's silence vibrated through the line. Then, Diane, do I bill him for raising you solo while getting my nursing degree? Should I add hazard pay for enduring this nonsense? I pressed my hand to my eyes. I'm so sorry. Don't you dare apologize. I'll send him my rate. $300 an hour, minimum 4-hour blocks for wasting my time reading his garbage. We laughed, tired, broken laughs that turned into something steadier. But when I hung up, my hands shook too much to hold my tea. Later that evening, I opened my laptop. Another email pinged. This time, not from Brandon, from his father. We expect you to treat Brandon's time and efforts with respect. He invested in your potential. Compensation is not unreasonable. Attached was the same invoice, this time watermarked with the Hale Construction logo as if branding could make delusion look professional. I hit forward to my lawyer, newly hired, courtesy of Lena's warning. The subject line I added, Exhibit A, the audacity. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the building sounded like a plan, every shadow like a signature waiting to bind me. I scrolled through Lena's old messages, rereading her story. Brandon had tried to bill her too, smaller amount, same categories. She'd folded, paid half just to make him disappear. Not this time. I opened a fresh page in my folder. Timeline of escalations. Laminated list. Work presentation stunt. Surprise therapist at mom's. U-Haul property grab. Fake dating profiles. Invoice to mom. And now item 7, his family's complicity. I stared at the list until the letters blurred. Then I wrote, underlined twice. He thinks this is love. He thinks this is strategy. It's neither. It's evidence. I leaned back, closed my laptop, and whispered into the quiet. Keep going, Brandon. Every move is another nail in your own coffin. But the quiet didn't answer. Instead, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. He won't stop until someone tells him no in front of a judge. I typed back, Lena. No reply. Just the screen glowing, the night pressing in, and the certainty that tomorrow, no would need to be louder. By the following week, Brandon shifted from private sabotage to public theater. His new stage, TikTok. One night, Maya texted me a link with 20 exclamation points. Girl, he's telling the internet your relationship was a case study. I clicked. A faceless account with a voice filter narrated over animated story slides. When a strong woman outgrows her partner. The captions told our story, but twisted. According to Brandon, I was a commitment-phobic woman terrified of excellence. He painted himself as a visionary who tried to elevate me, but was tragically rejected by mediocrity. At first I shook, then I read the comments. She dumped you over a laminated list? Good for her. CrossFit requirement? Sir, please sit down. Did he really invoice her mom? Screenshots, or it didn't happen? Screenshots, of course, were already circulating. Courtesy of Lena. Courtesy of me. Courtesy of the internet that never forgets. By his third video, the comments turned savage. Gen Z wasn't about to let him rewrite history. He deleted everything in less than 48 hours. But the damage wasn't mine, it was his. That's when I let my lawyer file for a restraining order. Our packet was thick. The laminated list, the office stunt, the therapist ambush, the U-Haul incident, the fake profiles, the invoice, the TikToks. Receipts stacked like dominoes. I thought that would cool him down. I underestimated his appetite for spectacle. The next Saturday, I wore navy silk to my cousin Lucia's wedding, a ceremony so tender it made me believe in vows again. Love had a scent there. Roses, champagne, warm bread baskets at every table. For a few hours, I let myself breathe. Until the gas rippled through the reception hall. He was there, Brandon, in a white suit. Lucia's jaw locked. Tell me he didn't. He had. He was striding toward the dance floor, face flushed with triumph. Carrying a microphone he must have snatched from the DJ booth. True love, he began, voice booming over startled silence, conquers all obstacles. Diane, this should have been our day. Maya whispered, oh no, he's monologuing. I stood frozen, the room's heat closing in like a cage. Guests shifted uncomfortably, whispers spread. He kept going, tears wobbling at the edge of his performance. Despite betrayal, despite misunderstanding, I will always... The DJ, God bless him, cut the mic. Get him out, Lucia barked. Two of my cousins, Antonio and Marco, both built like offensive linemen, lifted Brandon by his armpits and escorted him out while he shouted about destiny. His white suit gleamed under the exit lights like a flag of surrender he refused to wave. I thought it was over, until I heard Mom mutter, he's about to send another invoice for emotional labor. Guests laughed, tension cracking, but my hand still trembled as I texted my lawyer. Add wedding crash to evidence. That night, lying in bed, I replayed every detail. The mic feedback, the stunned faces, the heat creeping up my neck. Shame wanted to plant itself in me, to root deep. But anger burned hotter. He hadn't just humiliated me. He'd humiliated himself. 2 days later, my lawyer called. We're in court next week. The judge is going to see all of this. And from what you've told me, this isn't just obsession, it's escalation. Escalation. The word fit. Brandon had built a staircase out of delusions, each step laminated, each higher than the last. But at the top wasn't love, it was a ledge. And I was done standing anywhere near the fall. That night, I pinned the restraining order draft to my fridge, my handwriting scrawled across the margin. Boundary, final version. I sat at the table, stared at my Corolla keys, at my books stacked by the bed, at my mother's cobbler dish drying on the rack. My life was mine. Small, imperfect, enough. Brandon could laminate every fantasy he wanted. The court would hand him the only list that mattered. 500 feet. No contact. 2 years. But until then, I had to walk into that courtroom and tell the truth without flinching. I poured myself a glass of water, raised it like a toast, whispered, 2 receipts. And in the silence that followed, for the first time in weeks, I felt almost safe. Almost. Because in my inbox, waiting, was a new subject line. From Richard Hale, subject. Let's resolve this privately before it reaches a judge. The courthouse smelled like paper and disinfectant, the kind of sterile air that makes truth feel both heavier and lighter. I sat at the petitioner's table with my lawyer, Ms. Patel, hands folded too tightly in my lap. Across the aisle, Brandon adjusted his tie like this was a job interview. His father, Richard, sat stiff behind him. His sister, Megan, couldn't meet my eyes. The judge flipped through the thick folder Ms. Patel had prepared, tabbed, highlighted, receipts layered like geological strata. The laminated list, photos of the PowerPoint stunt, notes from the therapist ambush, building security affidavits about the U-Haul, screenshots of fake dating profiles, the invoice to my mother, and finally, videos of the wedding crash in the white suit. Each page turned was another nail, another splinter of humiliation that wasn't mine to carry. Brandon tried to argue. Your Honor, this is all a misunderstanding. I was helping Diane reach her potential. My intentions were pure. The judge held up a hand. You sent her mother an invoice for dating. That is not normal. Laughter rippled in the gallery. Brandon flushed crimson. Richard stood, voice booming with misplaced confidence. Your Honor, my daughter deserves a partner of excellence. Brandon merely sought to establish standards. Sit down, the judge said sharply. This isn't your case. In that moment, Richard's authority shrank to the size of his chair. When it was my turn, my voice shook only once. I told the story straight. No exaggerations, no dramatics, just the truth. How a man mistook control for love. How he tried to purchase my compliance with promises, threats, and invoices. How he didn't understand the word no unless it was laminated. The judge exhaled, weariness etched into her face. This behavior is concerning. Ms. Groves, your request for a restraining order is granted. Mr. Hale, you are to remain 500 feet away, no contact, for 2 years. Do you understand? Brandon opened his mouth, but Megan leaned forward and touched his arm. For the first time, he stayed silent. Gavel bang, done. Afterward, Richard found me in the hallway, shoulders slumped. His voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it. Diane, I'm sorry. He told us you two were still working things out we didn't know. I nodded, not unkindly. Maybe listen to your daughter next time. Because Megan was there, eyes red but steady. She murmured, We've all tried to warn them. He's in therapy now, real therapy. I'm sorry you had to be the one to expose it. Her apology landed soft, but it wasn't my burden to carry anymore. In the weeks that followed, the silence was its own kind of music. No more anonymous numbers, no more invoices, no more PowerPoints in lobbies. Just quiet mornings, Sunday dinners with Mom, and the hum of my Corolla that never pretended to be more than it was. Mom framed the infamous invoice and hung it in her kitchen. A conversation starter, she said. Guests laughed until tears ran. I laughed too, because it no longer hurt. Maya joked about turning the laminated list into a dartboard. Connor suggested a drinking game, a shot for every bullet point. Elise painted negative influence on a t-shirt and wore it proudly to brunch. My circle wasn't a liability, it was my shield. And then there was Janet, the woman who showed up at my door expecting Tuscany villas and found Chinese takeout instead. We kept texting, kept laughing, kept building something without lists, without pressure. Just small things, coffee runs, bad movie nights, a shared sense of relief that honesty was enough. I didn't call it love yet, but I called it safe, and safe, I learned, could be holy. One Sunday evening, after Mom's cobbler, I sat at my desk and opened a new document. A list. Not laminated. Not for anyone else's approval, just mine. Diane's requirements for happiness. Peace. Autonomy. Joy. Friends who make me laugh loud enough to annoy the neighbors. A mom who answers every phone call with, Baby, you hungry? A life free of bullet point ultimatums. I stopped there. 6 was enough. I closed the laptop, turned off the lights, and let the quiet settle. My Corolla keys glimmered on the hook. My books waited by the bed. My future stretched out, not laminated, not bullet pointed, just mine. And for the first time in months, I slept without fear, dreaming not of lists, but of freedom.